All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Pickleball Jones. My name is Brad, and as always, I'm joined by Doc. We're going to get right into it because we have a pretty heavy agenda. We're going to be talking the MLP draft, PPA Denver, Anna Leigh Waters throwing out the first pitch, and all sorts of other fun things. But let's get started. Doc, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing fine. How is it out there in the desert, 152 degrees?
It is very hot, and I don't know, but not very sunny at the very least. It's a dry heat, as we always say here in Arizona. Doc, talk a little bit more real quick, because I want to make sure this is going.
Well, as you said, we're going to kick it off with the draft, and I went out on a limb, and I picked Ben Johns, predicted Ben Johns being picked number 1, Anna Leigh being picked number 2, and lo and behold, I was correct.
Yes, you were. All right, well, that actually recorded very nicely, so we're going to keep this going. And yes, so I guess the MLP draft took place last week on Wednesday. Chicago Slice had the very first pick, picking Ben Johns, as Doc did predict last week. Anna Leigh Waters was picked second with the Utah Black Diamonds, followed by Riley Newman, Catherine Parento, Anna Wright, JW, Julian Arnold, Dylan Frazier, James Ignatovich, Paris Todd, Leah Jansen, and finally Federico to round off the first 12 people that were selected. And I guess we can kind of get into it, our overall thoughts on which teams won, which teams lost, and I mean, I guess like who took some kind of shots in the dark or whatever it might be. And as you mentioned before, Doc, like you think the big winners is whoever gets Ben Johns and Anna Leigh Waters. Is that still how you feel?
Oh, yeah, I think that's the key, is having a top 5 pick is a predictor of success. And certainly with Anna Leigh and Ben Johns, you're almost guaranteed a victory in the singles and most likely doubles. So certainly you would think they would possibly be the odds-on favorite. I don't think there were anything too in the first 12 picks. Did it follow the Duper rating, or their ratings pretty closely?
Pretty much. The biggest one that kind of came out that was a little bit different was the Julian Arnold pick by the AZ Drive at number 7. Some people thought that might have been a little high for Julian Arnold. He, got picked above some pretty solid females, but then also other individuals such as like Tyson McMuffin and things. But overall, I think it kind of went to as everybody kind of predicted for the most part. And then to your point too earlier, you mentioned a little bit around draft strategy. And so last year, everyone was really picking a lot of women up front. This year, a lot more men went in the early rounds, or like the first round. But then after that, women kind of popped back up for the second round. And because there is a lower number of like prime women in the draft, people really wanted to kind of push those as soon as possible. So it seems like that kind of went at least in the second round because a lot of women got picked up very quickly.
Right, and I think the Julian Arnold thing probably was some momentum carryover from San Clemente. Everybody is up on his energy, especially in MLP play. It certainly is a big factor with the team play. And so that's probably one of the reasons he may have gone a little higher than expected, coming off that San Clemente momentum.
Superfinals.
Yeah, the superfinals when they were just really jacked up and performed well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that definitely helped him out some. I guess like when we actually look at some of the teams and things, some that actually stand out as terms of just things that I noticed at least. The first off was the Utah Black Diamonds. They took Anna Leigh Waters number 1, Tereschenko number 2, Thomas Wilson, and AJ Kohler in the 4th round. And I think that overall that team is built really well. Anna Leigh obviously is going to be a beast, but her paired with Tereschenko, who actually they played against each other in singles this weekend, is just going to be like a powerhouse for women. And I think that's going to be a really hard team to beat in women's doubles. But then also pairing each of those up with either Thomas Wilson or AJ Kohler is going to be a tough beat even in the mixed aspect of things. So that team seems to be stacked in terms of how they were able to put it together, picking that woman second with Tereschenko, and then getting AJ, who fell really low in the fourth round, really helps them out too. Another one that I wanted to bring up, and Doc, you know this one a little bit because we've been to some APP tournaments and things, and I played in some, is the Atlanta Bouncers. And so they have Paris Todd, Simone, Pablo, and Hunter Johnson. So a lot of times with these MLP teams, what will happen is the first person gets picked, and they kind of act as the GM with there and like get to talk a little bit around like who the next few picks should be. And this is definitely the case with the Atlanta Bouncers because Paris Todd ended up picking her her woman's partner, Simone, and then also her boyfriend in the fourth round. And it's just like a very like APP heavy team. And so I'm going to kick it to you, Doc. What do you think for the MLP? Do you think that you should just be picking the best people, or how much does actually knowing your team and team chemistry play a role?
Well, I think Paris Todd has to be excited. I mean, she picked Simone, so she's got her grandmother she's playing with, right? Simone, she's like 70, 75 years old now.
Yep.
So she's got that going for her. But everybody talks about team chemistry, and I think it does come into play in the MLP. Some teams are built for high energy, others are a little more low key, but team chemistry certainly a big deal. And if Paris Todd's happy, then I'm happy.
Thank goodness for that. Some other things that occurred, I guess, are just some people who fell pretty far in the draft. Zane was a number one or like a first round pick last season, and this time he actually fell into the third round. And then Jay DeVilliers, I think, was a first round pick last season, and he actually fell down to like one of the last picks of the overall draft, which is, I don't know, just interesting to say the least. But yeah, I don't know. Those are some of the things that I saw from this. Go ahead. What do you got?
Yeah, he fell the furthest, I believe, right? And Zane, from everything we've read and watched on other podcasts, the guy's just a weirdo. So I think I think that may have played a role in it. At least our good buddy that we like, get a plug out to their podcast, King of the Court. Tyler did not get relegated. So he made it, but barely, right? Wasn't he one of the last picks in the draft?
He was the 40, I want to say the 44th pick, so like there's only 6 or 4 more left. But but he made it, and we're all very happy about that. Yeah,
he didn't act concerned, and his good buddy didn't think there was any chance of him being relegated to the Challenger League, but it was close.
Yeah, some more interesting facts I have for you. So Zane last season played on the Frisco Pandas, and everyone on that team just got slaughtered after this. So Matt Wright was on that team, and he just said, fuck it, I'm retiring from MLP altogether. Zane got dropped down to the third, and their 2 women that were playing on the team are now in the Challenger League. So I don't know what happened with that team, but you just didn't want to be there.
Yeah, that team imploded. Yeah, no doubt about it.
And some other things, Christian Alshon got called up, as well as Pablo. So both of those players were playing, and so with Hurricane Tyra Black. So all 3 of those players were playing in the Challenger League last season, and they got the call up. Excited to see how they can pull it off. Hell, Christian Alshon was only 1 away from having the chance to play with his girlfriend, Anna Lee. That would have been interesting.
Oh, God. I don't know if I could stomach that. Watching him with Lee Waters and then playing with his girlfriend, that might have been a little more drama than I could stomach.
Fair enough. Okay, well, I guess like that'll do it for the MLP draft. The one other thing we're going to do, because we're not going to go over the Challenger League because we don't know shit about it, but we do want to give a shout out. No, that's right. We do want to give a shout out to the other podcast host, on the King of the Court podcast, Jimmy Miller, who went from being a nobody to being the GM of the Black Bears, and he got to draft the Black Bears Challenger League. So we're just really proud of him, even though he doesn't know us.
Yeah, he doesn't know us, but we'll give him a plug because we like his podcast. He is a very knowledgeable individual as far as pickleball. In fact, we suspect that's all he does 24/7 is sit around watching pickleball all day. Some of us have productive lives, but good for him. He's a good guy. He's fun to listen to.
Absolutely. And apparently he actually got into trouble, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but he disclosed some information about one of the pickleball players who was trying to get drafted. And apparently that was a no-no to do. So all that information was supposed to be kept private, and he almost got canceled, but luckily MLP was able to keep him around.
Oh, so insider trading. Okay, I got it.
That's right. We'll get into it a little bit later. But all right, let's hop into the PPA Denver. So PPA took place this week. There were a lot of notable people who actually did not come to Denver. That included JW, Tyson McMuffin, Riley Newman, as well as Catherine Parento. But the rest of the All-Star cast was there, including Ben Johns and Annalee Waters, who just absolutely dominated overall, on all 3 days. And we'll get into a little bit, but let's start off with singles. As I said before, Ben Johns and Annalee Waters really did a great job and just dominated singles as a whole. Ben Johns allowed opponents to score only 7 points through the finals, or in the semis and the finals. So in those last 2 games, he literally beat the living shit out of Alshon, and then Quang Duong also got beat pretty badly. I guess, Doc, when you were watching the Alshon match or any of these singles matches, the men's singles, I guess, what were your overall takes?
Well, certainly, like you said, without any of the other big names, it just became men against boys, women against girls, I guess is what you would say, as Ben and Annalee just dominated. Games weren't, Ben Johns, what the guy score, 4 points or something. And as the old timers like to say, he was taken to the woodshed, Alshon. But Ben Johns played really, really well. I have to say some of the other, Annalee, Tereschenko, she's like 4 times her age, Annalee's age, so you shouldn't have too much trouble there. That was a surprise with her getting to the finals. Those were kind of snooze fest, and without a great challenge for either of them. And in fact, even the doubles were not even that competitive without any of the other, without Riley Newman and some of the other top players.
Yeah. No, I would say from a single standpoint, and I apologize to our good friend Yu Mao for not doing well on this name either. Quang Duong was a 17-year-old prospect. Was I saying that right, Doc? Were you about to correct me?
Quang Duong?
Yeah.
No, I thought it sounded like a Saturday night live skit. So I didn't really know.
So Quang, I actually looked him up a little bit more. He's a really interesting person in general. So he's 17 years old. He wants to be a professional tennis player. He has paddle experience. So it includes badminton and ping pong. And again, he's just a very talented tennis player trying to go pro there. He recently got a silver in the APP finals. I forget where. I want to say it was in Newport or somewhere in California. And so that was the first place where I kind of recognized his name. When you watch this guy on the court, he is flying all around. They call him the last airbender of the pickleball courts. And basically, he's just moving around like crazy. And it's very interesting to watch. If you follow him on Instagram, some of the things that he talks about is just the soon rise of the amount of Asian people who are going to be coming and taking over pickleball, and he thinks that overall, because of their badminton and ping pong skills and things like that, that Asian people overall will kind of start to really make a name for themselves in the pickleball community. And I mean, if they play like he does, I can see why.
Oh my God, they're going to take over pickleball. They've already taken over women's golf, Ivy League schools. Now pickleball. There's nothing left. So yeah,
they just keep excelling. So that was a really cool one to watch. I would say another one, and this is my recommended viewing, so I try to put these on for each of the events at PPA Denver. But it was the semifinals between Alshon and Vich. Vich's that guy who is from Hawaii, and he has a very unique playing style. And I really like to watch him play. And Alshon, obviously, is always looking to have highlights and things like that. Their very first two points in their matchup were back-to-back ATPs. And that kind of set the tone for what was going to come. And the series actually went to 3 games. It was a really well-fought series, and just a lot of really good singles play. So I highly recommend anyone go check out that match if you want to see what was probably the best singles match of the weekend.
Brad, can we get your we got the agenda on here. Can we get your picture on here?
Oh yeah, I think I lost your picture, but mine is showing up. So we got to figure out what's going on.
Don't worry about that. All right.
Yeah.
Your plug for the semifinals. I did not watch the semifinals, but I'm gonna tell you not to watch the finals. I did not think it was. I don't know if it was the altitude. Did you notice that, Brad? A lot of serves were out, and I think they struggled a little bit with the altitude there. And the level of play, whether it was because the other, 2 through 5 players weren't there, but the finals level of play, other than the Ben Johns ass whooping he gave Alshon, was really not that. The games were not that well played, not that exciting. The top seeds just dominated right through in the finals.
Yeah, no, it did seem that way. And I would say that, I guess, to go to the Alshon part, if you click on the links in the show notes, you'll see that Alshon ended the day crying on the bench. And actually, there's another clip of him, probably 30, 40 minutes later, after everyone has left the courts. Alshon is still there, sitting on the bench, looking very sad. And so, Doc, I don't know if you know what the Michael Jordan crying face is, but it's a meme that goes around on the internet. And now Alshon actually has taken that role in the pickleball world.
I know the Michael. Yeah, I didn't know that's what it was about. I didn't know our buddy was there crying.
Yeah.
So too bad for him, but. Ben laid it on him. No mercy. Like you said, he scored 4 points, and it wasn't even. Those were just gimmies. So that was just a ass whooping from the beginning. And then you had Tereschenko. She's her and Simone. They're about 60. Yeah, they've got their Medicare card. So but good for her. She made the finals. 40 years old. In singles, but those matches weren't that close. But I was thinking, wow, 40-year-old in the single finals. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So this was her last finals was in November of last year. She's only actually had one singles gold or medal ever, and it was in February of 2020. Overall, she has a very strong tennis background, has won a lot in tennis, but it hasn't, again, it may be because of age, might be whatever, but she doesn't often win in the PPA. And so this was a really cool event. It was cool to see her go up against her future partner for MLP in Annalee Waters. And they did have some good matches. I would say the second game was not good, but the first game did go 12-10, I believe. And Tereschenko had her on game point, I want to say 2 or 3 serves out of it, where I thought she was going to pull it off. But, of course, Annalie Waters with that wicked backhand just went cross-court on her twice, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, it reminded me. That's what when she had game point. I go, this is like when the Patriots, New England Patriots, who I hate, with Tom Brady. You always thought you had them on the ropes, but somehow you knew they were going to win. It was the same thing. Somehow you just knew Annalie was going to come back. And be quite honest, I was a Tereschenko hater with that unique appearance that she has. But then when I watched her in the finals, she seemed to have such a good attitude, was smiling, and she just, I was good for her. And so now, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and I guess so that brings up a nice little transition for us. Another person who we weren't always the happiest with, who is Leah Jansen. She joined the King of the Court podcast this week, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you and I were kind of like, all right, maybe Leah, maybe we kind of like her now. But she had an interesting weekend at the PPA Denver. She, in her match against Judith Castillo, who Judith Castillo we'll get into on her own, she played really good pickleball this weekend. Also somebody who I really didn't know a whole lot up until this weekend, and I started doing some research and things, but it seems like she is definitely on the come up, and somebody who has a really strong game. But in her game against Leah, Leah got a little overheated. I think the altitude might have got her, and she had to take a medical timeout that went on for 20 plus minutes as I was watching. Doc, you are no stranger to taking a little breather sometimes, and I know when we play pickleball, every once in a while a ball will go, and you'll take your sweet ass time to go and fetch it. And I have a sneaking suspicion that's for time for you to kind of collect yourself and collect your breath. So with Leah here, are you I guess feeling that you're brothers together on this, or are you, I don't know, thinking that she's trying to just get away with something here?
All right, let's set the record straight.
Sure.
I'm 40 years older than Leah.
All right.
So, okay, let's start with that. I'm 40 years older. We're playing in Arizona. It's about 142 in the shade. And so if a 70-year-old man walks slowly to pick up the ball and catch his breath, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't recall taking a 20-minute break, but yeah, I'll occasionally use that to my advantage. But getting back to her, I was hating on her also. I thought her appearance on the court, I don't know, somehow was just rubbed me the wrong way. And then we watched her on that podcast, and she is one bright, quick-witted, funny individual. So now I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah, I think, and we can get into a little bit more around that, but it really has changed my overall views on her. However, on this at this match, I guess watching her, you can kind of see her start to falter in the second game against Judith, and in that one, of course, maybe she is feeling the exhaustion from having to play at higher altitudes and the heat and things. But also it did kind of seem like she just was I'm losing momentum here. Maybe this is a way to regain some momentum. And I don't know. I mean, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So I guess we can't hate on her too much.
Come on, a professional athlete? Oh, no. They wouldn't do that, would they?
No, never. Cool. Well, I guess let's move on to Friday. So the PPA Denver Friday was all about mixed doubles, and once again, Ben and Annalie Waters dominate. You're going to see and hear that quite a bit. They actually played against Federico and Megan Dizon in the finals, and I thought that was an interesting pairing, and I like Federico, and we all know that we sort of like Megan Dizon and we root for her, but then also, we think she might be a little bit of a choke artist sometimes and things like that. So Doc, overall, mixed doubles, what do you like?
Mixed doubles. I mean, you're not going to beat the number one team. When's the last time they lost? You should have that information handy. Have they lost? Okay, lay it on us.
This is their sixth title in a row. And
Okay.
eighth title this year, 20th title together.
So they haven't won every time, but
No.
close.
Yeah, I want to say the last time they lost was actually in Mesa against the Johnsons, I want to say. It was against Georgia and JW, but I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that was the last time that they lost, period.
Yeah, yeah. And we saw them right at Marriott Desert Ridge tournament, PPA.
Yep.
And yeah, they dominated there. That was uh, I'm a big fan. And until someone knocks them off the perch, yeah, yeah. There's Anna Lee and Ben, and there's everybody else chasing them.
Yeah, that's it. So I mentioned before, Federico and Dizon played Ben and Annalie Waters. They didn't do it in the finals. Must have done it in the semifinals
Yeah,
because
right,
who actually
right.
played in the finals was Matt Wright and Lucy Kovalova. And I would say that I had a fun clip of them, like just I guess in their match or their semifinals match blah. But what I wanted to ask you about was Matt Wright mentioned that every time he and Lucy do well, it depending on how well they do is how they celebrate. And by celebrating, I mean they go to a nice dinner. So if they make it
Wow.
to like just like the first round, they're eating at McDonald's, but they make it all the way to the finals, they're going to a steak dinner. And so I guess Doc, one, do you do this type of thing? Do you kind of try to motivate maybe yourself or maybe even your children in a similar lifestyle?
Well, let's just comment on uh, those two. They played like they had dinner reservations about 10 minutes after their match. It's like they couldn't get out of there fast enough. Once they got right, well, the first game, maybe if I recall, was semi-competitive, and after that, the next they couldn't. I think they lost. Did they lose the third game 11-0, 11-1
It,
maybe?
they might have, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they had dinner. All right, we won silver medal. We're going out to dinner. We'll see you guys. They wanted to get off that court so fast. Um, so I think it was obvious they were outmatched and didn't, after the first game, realize, nothing. They weren't coming back. No, I would never do that with my children. No. Set. Although I did make my son walk home from basketball practice once because I didn't feel he was given a good enough effort, and so I made him walk home, and he's a better man for it. Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I was hoping you would tell that story. So yes, Joe, he just wasn't trying hard, and so you made him walk home. Very interesting.
Yeah, and then and once when we were playing pickup basketball, we were playing to 50. Brad, I think you were playing, and Joe, I think, scored like 48 of our points, or 47 of our points going to 50, and we lost 50-49. And I told him he quit on us after he scored 47 of our 49 points. I told him he quit on us, and I took a fan and threw it across the gym. And so, so I didn't get Parent of the Year for that. So.
Yeah, I was at that one, and I do remember that fully. To your point, Annalie and Ben Johns did dominate. The first game was 11-8. After that, 11-5, and you were right on the money, 11-1 for that last one.
Yes, yeah. Kovalova and Wright, they had dinner reservations. I don't know. Maybe they're going to Chick-fil-A. I don't know where they're going. I don't want to use any more restaurant names until we start getting, sponsorship. Yeah. So we can't be throwing out these names. But they looked like they wanted to get out of there.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that kind of rounds it off for mixed doubles. I honestly wouldn't recommend any of the matches as all-star matches.
The finals, I wouldn't watch any of the finals.
No, none of the finals from PPA Denver whatsoever. No. And even some of the semifinals, at least in the mixed doubles, there wasn't anything that was like, earth-shattering or something that is a must-watch, I'd say. So
Right.
let's move on to doubles, where once again, the Johns brothers and Annalee and Bright dominated. Annalee, Waters, and Bright only lost 15 points leading into the finals. So they went through all of their beginning games and only let up on 15 points, which is wild. The Johns brothers did not lose a single game. And so, once again, this was just an overall thrashing by Ben Johns and Annalee Waters. I guess some of the things that I noticed from the doubles games that I watched, first and foremost is Hayden Patriquin. That dude just keeps getting better. And I recently came across a new website that really breaks down a lot of the stats from MLP. And I found out that Hayden, outside of Ben Johns, is one of the top point getters for MLP. And this week he paired up with Callan, and together they played really good pickleball. And Callan's another one where he kind of came out of nowhere. He's been on the come up a little bit more lately. Like, this is now like the second tournament that I've actually even seen his name. But he went undrafted in the MLP this week, this week. And it was just something to watch him and Hayden play against the Johns brothers in the semis, I believe. And they played really, really well. But I guess I'll stop there and let's kick it over to you. What's your overall take on at least the men's doubles?
Yeah. Well, once again, there's. I'd like to see. We'll see when. What's his name with his new partner starts playing and see.
Riley Newman.
Yeah. See when Riley Newman again. I'm not a big fan of Riley Newman, but I don't know. Maybe I'll watch him on a podcast. I certainly wasn't a big fan of his announcement, LeBron James style, of where he was, who his new partner was going to be. So maybe once his new partners, he's playing with two different guys. So see if they can give the Johns brothers some competition. Matt Wright, and he could not get over the hump. They kept getting silver. So we'll see. I think it would be exciting if they could put some the Johns brothers to the test.
Yeah, no, I mean, we will. I do think because of all the notable omissions, right? So JW wasn't playing, McMuffin wasn't playing, Newman wasn't playing. There were actually, and even Big Papa Jimmy wasn't playing either. So there's a lot of people who weren't at this tournament, and I think that did show, and that's why Johns and Annalee Waters just kind of ran through everyone, as you were mentioning earlier. But when it comes just to the men's overall, I would say that the best match I would watch is the Johns, Callen, and Hayden match, and I would say the only reason to do that is Ben Johns hit some awesome shots, including an ATP defense, and then also he hit a tweener that showed up as the number 4 on the top 10 for SportsCenter, which was pretty cool. But those are my biggest takeaways, at least from the doubles play. But for
pickleball, hitting the big time, making the top 10 on SportsCenter.
Yeah, it made it a couple times, actually. So I think this weekend it happened twice. Christian Alshon, the Tweener King, he actually made it earlier that day, or the day before, I think, because of one of the ATPs that happened in his match against Vich. But I think it is on the come up. And also it's the summertime, so there's not a whole lot of sports being played. So why not put pickleball on SportsCenter?
But until pickleball is in DraftKings or FanDuel, they haven't hit the big time. And once they get the betting on pickleball, this podcast is going to be invaluable to our listeners with the insight and predictions. We don't want to brag, but how well we're doing in baseball and how well we do in college football.
Hockey, basketball.
Hockey knocked it out of the park in hockey. unbelievable.
There's one thing we know how to do. It's sports bet, and
Yeah.
once this thing gets into sports bet mode, we will be sure to use and abuse it and share everything we have.
That's right. You're going to want to watch this every week, believe me.
Some other parts of the doubles was the women's side of things. So, like I said, Annalie Waters and Wright absolutely thrashed everybody.
First game, it took a little while to get their feet. Again, I think it had to do with the altitude. A lot of out balls deep on serves, returns. I mean, like I said, none of the games were well played except for the Ben John singles. And again, I think it was I think the altitude did play a role, but it took a while for those two in their finals match. But you felt that they were going to dominate once the game got going.
Yeah, so they actually did drop one of the games too. So
yes,
I believe game 3 they dropped 9-11 and ended up closing it out in the fourth game. But to your point, I kind of forgot, being in Colorado, a lot more balls were hit harder, I would say.
Yes.
And you saw a lot more out balls, similar to how things go with the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, a lot of returns were going deep. So once and some of the serves, but a lot of returns were, unforced errors were deep, and it really made for some not long rallies and that sort of thing. So I think it contributed.
So Leah Jansen and Lucia Kovalova, they got the bronze medal. For the silver medal, it actually went to Lacey Schneeman, who's going to be on Ben John's team for MLP, as well as Vivian David, who is one of my favorite players and who I have a crush on in pickleball. I just like seeing her. She was playing against Wright and Annalie, and there was a few shots where she tried to do something, and she's just one of the smiliest, happiest pickleballers I've seen. And everyone smiles when they're playing pickleball for the most part, outside of the group I hang out with.
Yeah, I do not smile. In fact, I've been told to smile, but that's a very good pickup. That team, they were out-talented. Yeah, and but they didn't get down, and they smiled, and they tried hard, and even when they were down big, they really gave a good effort and were smiling. So but I'd never heard of them. So
yeah. I mean, so that was actually Annalie's only loss or game loss that entire day or that entire weekend. And it came on the hands of Schneeman and Vivian David. So I think they played well. And if you're going to watch anything from the women's doubles, that would be one to watch. And what's nice, too, is on the PPA YouTube channel now, they actually put the semifinals and the finals in a shortened format, so that way you don't have to watch or go and scroll through them, kind of taking over for what we used to watch with Henry Pickleball. So we appreciate it, PPA, for stepping up and starting to do that. Cool. And then I guess the overall things from PPA Denver. So Ben Johns did not drop a single game. As I mentioned before, Annalie Waters only dropped a single game, period. And this was their 6th title in a row, 8th title this year, and 20th title together. Annalie Waters has won 20 career women's doubles titles. The only person to have more is Lucia Kovalova with 21. And the Johns brothers won 5 straight golds. This is their 9th for the year and 22 as a team. This is the most golds by any team in PPA history. So congrats to the Johns brothers on that. But yeah, that rounds off PPA Denver. Doc, who was your biggest winner from the PPA Denver?
I'm gonna go. It's a weak pick, but I'm gonna go with Ben Johns taking Alshon to the woodshed. It just was okay, you beat me. Try this, and smoked them 11-2. What was it? 11-2, 11-2. And so I'm going to go Ben Johns reasserting himself as the king of singles, too.
Yeah, I would say so one of the last times they actually played each other, Alshon won. So they played 4 times total. Alshon has won 1, and Ben Johns has won the other 3. And if you guys don't know a little bit about Alshon, outside of being the self-proclaimed tweener king outside of being Anna Leigh Waters' boyfriend. He is also somebody who YouTubes himself quite a bit and talks about his matches and things like that. And he could not be any more excited to talk about his victory over Ben Johns, which shit, I mean, even if I scored 1 point on Ben Johns, you would never hear me talking or not talking about it. I would be talking about it forever. But he's kind of like that. And to your point, Doc, it was nice to see Ben Johns go, you think you have me? Well, watch me beat the living shit out of you. Which
yeah, take this. Yeah. So I think, we're giving all these plugs for all these people that were on at least my hate list, which was long, and now Leah Jansen and a few others that we heard, and we're going to have to come up with our top 3 that are on our
most despised.
That's very good. Most despised.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll save that for next time. Our top 3 most despised, and see if they can win us over, and maybe then they'll come on the podcast and win us over.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take much, that's for sure. If anyone showed up on this podcast, or even if they listened to this podcast, we would probably like them.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so for this next one, Doc, so my winner for PPA Denver, I'm going to give it to Quang Duong, that 17-year-old kid who just kind of crushed it. One thing, it's just, to be a 17-year-old out there and competing against anybody, he was, I think, the 28th seed. He got the play-in just to get in, and he went through some good people, including Dylan Frazier and some other notable names. So I was just happy to see the kid out there performing and kind of taking it to some of the established pros, which I thought was cool. Obviously, Ben Johns beat the shit out of him, but Ben Johns does that to a lot of people, so it's nothing to be sad about. Okay.
Do we have it on good authority that you have the correct pronunciation?
No,
because it sounds inappropriate.
I'm hoping that Yu Mao watches this one and then corrects us, and maybe we can bring her on to.
We'll give Dr. Yu Mao a plug too, so maybe she'll come on.
Yeah, there you go. Dr. Yu Mao, you're more than welcome to come on this podcast anytime you want to help us with any Mandarin, Chinese, or honestly, any type of pronunciation. Yeah. She can probably speak anything better than we can.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I want to do a quick off-the-court piece here. Doc, for the first one, Anna Leigh Waters threw out the very first pitch at the Florida Marlins game. I want to know, first and foremost, your thoughts on that. But then before we even get into it, let the people know, what are your overall qualifications for being able to grade a pitch like this? Do you have any, I guess, like baseball, softball, any kind of experience like that?
Oh, well, I'm well known in the softball circuit as grading pitchers. So, 2-time Arizona Umpire of the Year, of course, having done the 6A state championship game this past year that you were in attendance. So I can judge a first pitch very well. But before she even got to the mound, I'm thinking to myself, come on, Mom. Come on, Lee. The girl's dressed like a hoochie mama. She's got, come on. Did you see what she wore?
I did.
I would not let my, so she's probably not going to come, Leigh Waters is probably not going to come on our podcast, but I wouldn't put my 16-year-old out there dressed like that. But then again, I'm 70 years old, so what do I know? But anyway, so I would say I thought that was mildly inappropriate the way she was dressed. But as far as the quality of her first pitch, oh yeah, A+.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's common knowledge, right? She's a great athlete. She was a star soccer player, and so there's no doubt. And she looked at when she rifled that pitch in there, and just a bit outside. But otherwise, I'll give her A+.
Yeah, very good. I'd have to agree. I couldn't believe, I've seen a lot of first pitches in my day, and honestly, that has to be at the high end of them, period. She crushed it.
Cranked it up. And she cranked it up. No Fauci lob in the dirt, She gave the, fastball right down the middle.
Absolutely. Okay, so for the next one we mentioned it before, Leia was on the King of the Court podcast. She talked a little bit about everybody and everything. On that podcast in general, they dive in deep into the, I guess, like all the high school antics of the pickleball community. And Leia was not afraid to talk about it or talk shit. They talked a little bit around who has the most illegal serve, because it seems that nothing drives her crazier than when someone calls her serve illegal. But it kind of turned us into fans of hers. So I personally liked it. I thought she obviously sounded very smart, very intelligent, could talk through things very well, was quick-witted, which is always like a cool quality to have in a person. But yeah, Doc, what were your overall thoughts on Leia joining the guys at King of the Court?
Yeah, just like you said, on the court, she seems kind of, doesn't smile and looks like she needs a little wardrobe, improvement, hairdresser. But when she is on that podcast, she is very charming. I guess the best thing, other than her being quick-witted and very intelligent, was she is very candid. I mean, she took down Tyson McGuffin. She was and Zane, and she was just beating those guys up. She didn't hold back on anyone. So she is very entertaining. We're going to need to get her on our podcast. Then we'll know we're going places.
Absolutely. Okay, so the last one is Jilly B's 1,000 Dinks. I'm sure you have no idea what this is about, but this is why Jimmy Miller actually almost got banned from MLP. So when you are a player who wants to get drafted on an MLP team, you get to put together like why they should draft you. And so people put all sorts of rationale as to why it says, you should draft me because, and then like ... and you fill in the rest. And Jill Braverman said that she could dink for 1,000 times straight, and that is why you should pick her. And Jimmy Miller made a joke about this on the podcast, and because that information was quote-unquote private information, he violated the terms of the MLP, GM, whatever, blah, 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 and got in trouble for it. But my question is not about that, Doc, but Doc, if we were going to draft you for a team, why would we draft you? I'm Doc Maffo. You should draft me because...
I'm going to have to go with entertainment value. That's about all
Easy.
I can bring. I can bring some entertainment. I can bring vulgarity, poor sportsmanship. So if I'm being honest, those are my best qualities are my poor sportsmanship and my vulgarity. And so that's about it. If you don't know me, it's not fun to play with me. If you do know me, it's hysterical. So
no, I love it. Well, I mean, that's it. That's it for the podcast. That's it for us at the Pickleball Jones. Doc, what do you got for us before we head out?
Oh, I got all these plugs. Come on our podcast. We welcome you with open arms, and hopefully we'll have somebody. And we've got some in the works already. We've got Mr. Z, who may be on and who can give us a candid view of the PPA. He could give Jimmy a run for his money as far as knowledge.
I have some more for you to share too. So our good friend Karen Pickleball, who is on YouTube, but we know her in real life. She has a lot of hot gossip about the pro players, almost as much as Jimmy Miller, and some things that overall shocked me that Karen would know about and would want to talk about. And so I will fill you in off camera there, Doc. But we'll have to bring her on because I do think that she would love this.
Yeah, this sophomoric high school antics is very entertaining for you 30-year-olds, but for 70-year-olds, it seems a bit much to get into all their. Sometimes it's funny, so we'll see what nuggets she can give us.
There you go. Well, That's it. I guess, thank you so much for joining the second episode of the Pickleball Jones. We're happy to have you and hope you come back next time when we are discussing whatever the hell the next PPA tour is.
Yeah,
I think it's PPA Seattle.
Yeah, be sure and use our code whenever you're ordering something. We don't have a website. We don't have anything to order. We don't have a code, but we're going to.
Yeah, one day. And if you want to send us free shit, feel free to do it.
I
wear a size large. Doc wears a size large. We will wear it. I'm even wearing a pickleball hat right now.
Yeah.
And I had to pay for this, so someone please send me it for free.
Yeah, we like hoodies, so if we could get a hoodie, yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone.